All right, our number 2 corner in college football is Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, who donned his first 2 seasons in the nation at Notre Dame were special, man. And he's very deserving of being number 2 on this list. And you and I were talking pre-show. Man, it's a good argument he could be number 1 on this list, honestly, for how dominant he's been.
In coverage, he's probably the one guy all around that I would argue with Will Johnson. That's just pure cover corners. Look, a 90.4 coverage grade through his freshman and sophomore seasons. That's actually tied with Johnson among all corners through their first 2 seasons, tied for 11th with Will Johnson in PFF history. Ooh. So as cover guys, they're actually darn near identical. Like Benjamin Morrison's technique is almost spotless, man. Like press man, off zone, his change of directions really good. There was a play I believe against NC State last year I was watching. He was in press man. And he did the old Darrelle Revis thing that I used to see. He had like a fade route going about 35 yards downfield. He got his head turned around before the receiver did. Like, he can do those sorts of things. Like, there's times he's running routes for receivers. He's that good in coverage. You know, this year, 3 interceptions, 8 pass breakups. Notre Dame's got a lot of great players on their team. This is the best one. He is absolutely lights out, and you know, I'm sure you've brought this up before. 2 years against Marvin Harrison Jr., 7 targets, 2 catches, 26 yards. Nobody does that. Nobody. This is a guy in coverage who can play with the absolutely best receivers in the country. There is nobody he should be afraid of. And he's a freak athlete too, with a 98th percentile gas score. Benjamin Morrison in coverage at corner, like in a classic sense, in a modern sense, whatever you want, whatever scheme you want, he's everything you want in a cover corner.
Dude, he is so special, man. He, as a true freshman in 2022, tied for the lead in the Power 5 with 6 interceptions as a true freshman. And he had 29.2 passer rating allowed, which was 3rd in the Power 5. Last year, tied for 8th in the Power 5 with 13 forced incompletions, 86.8 single coverage grade over the last 2 years, which leads all returning Power 5 corners. You mentioned it, man, against Marvin Harrison Jr., 7 targets, 3 forced incompletions, 2 allowed catches. Crazy stuff against Marvin Harrison Jr. Also, Harrison, keep in mind, is a year older than him as well. So we're talking about a sophomore and junior Marvin Harrison Jr. against a freshman and sophomore Benjamin Morrison, man. So elite ball skills for the position, man. He is as locked down of a corner as you'll find in college football, and I think there really is a great argument for him to be number 1. Also, Dalton, 99.6 gas score in 2022, 97.8 in 2023. He is an elite athlete for the position as well, and I think he's got all the makings of the world of being a top 10 pick, if not higher, in the 2025 NFL draft. What are the weaknesses, though, Dalton? Why is he number 2 on this list and not number 1?
The biggest reason is the run defense, right? He needs more lower body strength to make tackles, and even there's times where he makes some bad reads and jumps inside in run defense. In coverage, I'll be honest with you, if you were just talking coverage, you could put him like tied for first with Will Johnson, but Will Johnson's better in run defense, a better tackler, just not that physical a player, kind of a thinner frame. I think last year came in around 185. Just needs a little more lower body strength to do the more physical things. I believe last year the run D grade was around a 53. Not a great mark. I remember there was a play against Duke where he had a chance to make a tackle on Riley Leonard, and Leonard got by him and took it a long way. Like, just not the best tackler in the world, not the best. There's several times in last year's tape where the issue was either a bad angle or a missed tackle in run defense. So that's just, he's got to get bigger. His body's got to mature a little more to play that stuff. But no issues for me in coverage, honestly. I think he's darn near spotless in coverage for as young as he is. I just needs to be a little more physical in run D and tackling.
Yeah, he missed 19% of his tackles last year. So that's obviously not a mark you want to see for him. So I think that's definitely something he can improve at. He did make some plays, actually, in the run game. He had 4 tackles for loss, 12 stops total. But I think as a tackler overall, he's got to improve because 19% is pretty high. But again, he's an outside corner too, so it's not something that's really like that awful if he's really bad at it. Like I think there are other positions where it's even a bigger of an issue, but outside corner, you could survive being a bad tackler. We've seen elite corners in the NFL be horrible tacklers, right? But I think the other thing I'll probably bring up too, over the last 2 years, 56th percentile in zone coverage grade. He had 29 targets on zone coverage. He allowed 20 catches for 150 yards. So I think he's really, really good and excellent as a man corner. There are some things that pop up in zone coverage. He gets a little bit lost out there sometimes, and also the tackling shows up in zone coverage too, a little bit more than man coverage. So that's the other thing too. But other than that, man, you mentioned it. He is as special of a cover corner as you'll find, and could be a top 10 pick, and probably is a projected top 10 pick in 2025 NFL draft for how dominant he's been in his first 2 years of college football. That is Ben Morrison, our number 2 corner in the country from Notre Dame.